We're interested. Are you interested?
We won't do the application Friday. I don't give one.
Exactly. I was like, I don't want to do that picture. She was like, oh, good for you. I was like, no way she's.
So ask
Oh, good for you. And then she rushed out there. Like, sorry, I just wanted to. I didn't get the scholarship.
Okay, guys, already I'm starting the recording here. I'm going to share the screen and open the lecture notes. And in case we have not good attendance today, and all the students will be able to see what happened for this class, right? So first of all, I'm open the attendance check-in for today. So the number for today will be 7168. I'll put in the side here. And during the same time, I'm going to the course content and navigate to lecture notes here. And since we don't have class last Thursday, I assigned the lecture notes 4 and lecture notes 3 for you guys for the self-reading, and you did finish the quiz 1. So that is very good. So in today's class, we will go to review the lecture notes 4 and 3 after we finish lecture notes 1. Okay, so under the lecture notes 2, conceptual estimating is more about a calculation. So we won't do this until we can have more students involved in class, and that is more hand calculation based. We have four methods to go through, and each of them are very, very different, and some of them has a challenge as well. So we are doing this one next week, right? So this Thursday, I go for a conference, so no class. So I will arrange some reading materials for you too. So, and you may have a quiz as well. So look at my email. I will send it out today. So basically, this lecture notes 1 is trying to introduce the concept of estimating to you, since you already learned estimating 1 from Dr. Offer's class. So that is quite simple and quite easy. So let's go to review some contents over here. So the estimating process we are learning from this lecture notes. So we will learn the type of bid, the bid package, estimating process, the bond insurance, and we will have some case study for we open discussion, right? So first let's take a look at what type of the bid including. So is anyone can tell me what kind of type bid you know? CML RAS is a construction management. Yeah, the bidding is a different process. So we have 2 types of the bid we can. So the bid is you are looking for a project. The owner has a project for you, but the owner may not only give it to you, it has a potential to give some other contract as well. So if you have a good relation with the owner, you have many past project with this owner, then the owner may say asking you require a negotiate contract. So in this case, we'll be go for the negotiable bid. And another case is competitive bid. So you have a public funded project, usually go for this competitive bid, asking all the qualified contract to submit a bid. And then they will compare the quality and compare the price cost, right? And then they will pick up one. So there are two two kinds of the bid we have. One is negotiable and another is compatible, right? So negotiable is, as I mentioned earlier, is repeat business. You have a long history working with this contractor, and also maybe someone has a special skills. For example, they are special engineers, right? They are fire engineer, the HVAC, they are mechanical engineer, or electronic engineer, or some special for the high rise, and they may need some big crowd, right? So in this case, they were asking a particular company that know how to do it. So that is two types of the bid can be go to negotiable, right? So the next one is the competitive bid process. So in this case, is mostly falling into the public funded project. For example, the tax funded project, right? Like the DOT projects. So we will see a case study later, and after this one, times off our full screen. So all right. So the competitive bidding process is including you first need to give an ad out, right? You need to advertisement of the bid, and you will hand out the bid packages, right? And then you may have a pre-bid meeting, Q&A, and all have some agendas, right? And you have a bid due, and you have your bid open, you have your post-bid meeting. Basically, that is check out meeting, and then you have the award. So I know some of you is doing the ABC competition. So basically, you already submitted your RFI, right? Request for information. So the RFI is most likely in which stage you think it's falling here? Pre-bidding meeting, right? So all right. So in this case, that is a timeline, or that is a procedures you need to finish and make sure your information given correctly, and as a contractor, you getting the information with the correct information, right? So what will be including the bidding packages? So they have some instructions to the bidders, right? First, you need to have definitions, qualifications, right? Estimating documents, the bound requirement, and milestone dates. So in most of the cases, we do the scheduling as soon as we understanding the estimating part, right? So so you may not have a full schedule available for the bidding package, but you are using those milestone dates to make sure your schedule is satisfied with the owner's requirement, right? So the definition is who is a successful bidder, and the qualification is who should be bid for this project. Say, for example, you have how many crews you have, right? How many equipment you have. If you cannot meet that equipment, then you cannot bid it, right? So all right. So the requirements for the subcontract and the supplies, that's the additional requirement. Maybe the owner want to specify which supplies or which subcontract do you want to use, right? And then you have the bid form. So the bid form is usually required for the signature. I'm not sure how are you handing out the bid, but in most time they're handing electronically. But in the old school time, they handing in the paper documents, and then you needed to do the signature or the stamps for the other pages, right? And you be submission, the time, location, and the format, right? So in most of cases right now is submit in electronically. And even how you have the bid withdrawing process will be specified as well. So bid can be withdrawn before to the bid open, right? And also in some cases, may say as one contractor, you can only submit one time bidder, and maybe you can submit multiple time if you can withdraw the previous one, right? So the bid open, again, the time, location, and the procedure, right? Tax examination. So owner may be exempt from tax on a certain materials purchased for the project, right? Under the retainage. So you may have 5% or 10% retainage. That means you are using this as guarantee the contract will provide the warranties, right? The owner supplied equipment and materials, and also involved in this project, if that is design, bid, and build, and then you will know the designer is separate to the contract, right? You will know the architecture and engineering firms. So how to get in the bidding information? So the bidding information is means as a contractor, you're going to finding potential or any opportunities available on market, and then you can able to submit your bid to win and award the project, right? You can looking for the investments, you can looking for the agency website, and they have some builders may change the blueprint, and also you have your past customers, right? And excuse me. Not every project you are going to bid and or not bid. So why that is important is for some of project you can bid it and you can win, but you cannot earn a lot of money. But you will spend a lot of time to prepare the bidding documents, right? So that costs a lot. So you need to have an estimate team, you have a scheduling team, project management team to prepare for this. So normally the company right now have a pre-construction team, right? They focus on to bid. So that means you need to decide either to bid or not to bid. So if you decided to bid, then you will pick up the bid package, and also you're going to attend the pre-bidding meetings. For some of those, the pre-bidding meeting is not close to your headquarters, right? Then you need to travel. You will spend the time money as well. So in that case, you need to make sure how much chance you can win, and if award a project, how much chance you can make profit, right? So that is you need to decide it. So either bid or not bid. So if you decided to bid, so there are certain procedures going to follow. You need to form an estimate team. So they may require the experience or the necessary resource. The experience is similar project they did it before, right? And also you have the workload. So you may have to hire some outside consulting teams, right? There's a table here. So for a list of issues, we will be address them in the estimating kickoff meetings, right? So after you form the team, then you're going to develop your estimating work plan. So that page 49 is not our textbook, is another book we're not using for this class, but we were using the information here. So who, when, what, where, and how. That basically 5W we are going to answer for any of the things we're going to do, right? So you will do the budget for prepare for the estimate, right? You will determine the methods and the technicals, right? You can either do this is a unit price one, or this is assembly, right? And what kind of technicals? You will do the hand calculation, or you are using the electronic methods, right? So it all depends on what you have in your hand, right? So that is an example of estimate work plan. You have what type of requirement, design level accuracy, design level of requirement, and the deliver and estimates, right? And the estimating service to be provided, right? You will deliver estimates by in-house resource or outside resource, right? Outside resource means you have a consulting team, right? You will have a budget for the prepare estimating. So how many work hours for the staff, and how many dollar budget for the non-salary estimating works, right? For example, that is for the consulting, right? So require staffing for preparing the estimating. You may have a principal estimate who lead the team. You may have an in-house, outside resource like intern level, like internship, assistant level, right? And also you have any available person for staffing. So you may have some multiple projects running in your company, then you may not able to find enough person to do it, right? So you have a schedule. What is your starting day? What is your review day? And what is due date, right? So estimating methodologies, tools, technicals, method, procedures, control, and also the presentation, right? So that is kind of like what will be involved there as a list for the estimating working plan. So after you form the team and you have your plan, and then next you are do is going to visiting the project site. So right now, most of the company is using the drone to do the site visiting, right? Because the drone can fly over the site and also can look around the surroundings, so can do a quick site visiting. But in some of the case, you also need to do the in person to walk over it, and also you may need to have the geotech teams or geotech technicians or geotech professionals to getting the soil conditions. So that is very important. Maybe the owner provided soil condition is not accurate. So that make you in a risk, right? So also the traffic condition is very important. If we're doing in the urban area, in downtown areas, the traffic condition actually impact your materials, may impact your material supplies delivery, right? Impact your schedule, right? So some space available for the storage and the construction. So if you're doing the ABC or the other competition, then you may need to have a site plan. In that case, you will think about what is the entrance, what is your exit, right? And where is your storage locations. So you may not able to provide our on-site storage. Then in the case you need to look around the surroundings. Where is your outside storage, right? And also you need to think about existing structure because that will impact your construction methods. So and also if you need to provide a prevent structure to the existing structures, then it will be cost you your price increase, right? And also the available of the utilities, electronic, the waters, and telephones. So now everybody is using telephone, but in the old time, they were required to using the telephone, right? So all those things you need to think about, and that will be impact your cost and also impact your site plan, right? So site plan is very important part when you're doing bidding packages, right? So so then you are going to analyze your bidding documents that is provided by the owner. So including identify the bid due dates, determine the bond requirements. We'll talk about the bond. Bond is different to insurance. So you need to notify your subcontractor and the suppliers to get in their quarters, right? Or their estimated budget, right? You will prepare a checklist for the important factor related to the project, right? List all the questionable and unusual items. So the questionable things, unusual things, you can clarify with a pre-bid meeting with the owners or the design teams, right? So you will prepare a detailed quantity takeoff. So quantity takeoff, you will list items in orderly sequence. You may use a CSI master format, right? So you guys all read about the CSI. So how many version CSI we have? 2, yes. And what's the difference between the two? Anyone can answer it? What's the difference between the two CSI version? The number go up, right? And the letters? Where is the S work in the CSI, the older version? And what is in the newer version? So keep in this mind, S word, right? So we'll take a look at it when we review the lecture notes 3. Okay, so you will record information accurately, clearly, and consistently, right? So you will analyze the labor materials and the equipment requirement for the work to perform with your company personnel. And you may also need to hire the external resource as well. You will list the subcontracts work items separately. So so that is a sense you are determining what resource you in hand or either is very close to you as the subcontractors who worked with you before, right? And the next is the price, the estimates. Once you finish your takeoff, then you go into the price. Price is basically based on your company history data, right? If you don't have a company history data, you may refer to some data like ours means data, right? That is the national average or regional average, right? So if you are working in the union area, is not here. Here is non-union, but in the Midwest they have the union. So the labor cost is different, right? And you are including the quotas from the subcontract supply and other vendors, right? The vendors is more likely you rent equipment from them, right? And you are adding the overhead, the tax, and the profit. So we will link the overhead, tax, and profit in the estimating summary, right? In the most of cases, we're doing this project in the lab, in this class in the labs from 1 to 12 is take off and the price. But in the lab 13, we were going to add in the overhead and tax and profit, right? So that is the easy part. So you will finalize your estimate documents. So you will have a review and including a cover letter and your company's branches, right? So review items, it has a table of 10 here. I'm not going to reading them one by one, but if you're interested, you can take a look at as a checklist, right? So so now is important part. So all the things we mentioned early is based on the quantity takeoff, and based on your history data, you go a price, right? And then we're adding some new things here. That sense is not certain. That is the contingents. That is maybe we have some risk over here. So the risk can be the accuracy, the uncertainty, and the competitors. So competitors is easy to understand. You're not only the one contract going to getting this project, right? They may have some competitors over there because this is a competitive bid, right? And accuracy. The accuracy is come from two parts. Either the owner provided the information is accurate, or your team may have some mistakes, right? So uncertainty is the geo conditions may change because your geo report provided by the owner maybe have some issue or ignore something, but that will impact you, right? So, and also the traffic condition. For example, say the DOT say we're going to reconstructing this roadway in the next 2 months, and your scheduled project start time is just within that period, right? That will totally impact you, right? Or the weather happen, the cold weather happen, you cannot do the construction during that time. That are all those, right? Then you are determining amount of money or the percentage of the money that should be adding to the estimates. So that estimates is all the direct cost. You guys know the direct cost, right? The direct cost is labor, material, and the equipment, right? So all those is related to your quantity takeoff. After the direct cost, you are adding this contingency, the tax, the profit, that is, and or the overhead, that is indirect cost, right? Indirect cost, right? So okay, so and then once you finish estimating, you will document all those things and the storage in your company because next time you can use it, right? And also, if you understand they have some issues happen, then you can document them for feedback for the continued improvement, right? And also you can modify your estimating standards and practice for your own companies, right? So based on this, so that is the estimating process. Let's talk about the sequence of a project and the type of estimates. So that we will see different kinds of estimates. So in this class, we will focus on which one? We are going to learn this one, right? Conceptual estimating, right? You guys are already reading about the detailed estimates that in the bidding stages and all the assembly, right? And the conceptual estimates is using in the project initial stages. For example, you're going to do or not do, right? So very roughly give you a example, how much will cost for this project if you're going to construction a hospital for 100 birds. And then in the past, there is another project happening in the same city, about 19 birds, and the cost about 100 million, right? And then in your own 100 birds, that means you will cost more than this one. because you increase the timbers, right? And also you increase, and maybe they have some inflation and the material price changes and the salary changes as well, right? So definitely you will cost them more. That is conceptual estimating, roughly idea what it looks like. And then you have the feasibility study. The feasibility study, our student is different to the engineering student. The engineering student have a class called the whatever it's called the engineering economics. So the engineering economics is dealing with these feasibility studies. That is the whole thing. And our class, our major student will learn the construction, financial, and organization, whatever. So that is my class 446. It should not be organized like that way. It should be separate. So construction finance is construction finance. Construction organization is construction organization. But understanding is because we have the limited 120 credits, so we cannot have another 3 credits class to stop you guys graduate early, right? So feasibility study is kind of like saying you are thinking about this project and whether this project can be survived because you're going to invest the money over there and you for your investments and how long you will get the return. Does that make sense? So if you're going to run a restaurant and there's a restaurant will cost you $100, I'm just an example, $100 investments and in the first 2 years. And then starting the 3rd year, you're going to run it. They will have the cash in. You are getting $2 per year. And how many years you are getting the $100 return back? 100 divided by 2, you are getting 50 years, right? So that is kind of like the return period, 50 years. So all those things is including the feasibility studies. And also when get it complicated, you are thinking about the money, the time view. The time view is same as saying, if you don't spend your money, you put your money into the bank as a deposit, a long-term deposit. They give you 1% return as your interest, right? So something like this, we are going to learn in the feasibility studies. So, and also we may have some reading sense in the scheduling class. So because this is the both of the 2 classes is teaching by me, so I will see will not focus on the feasibility study or the time value in the scheduling class. We are moving to learn from your financial and accounting class, right? So you may learn that from your financial accounting class as well. So the feasibility study stage, we will have the feasibility estimates, right? And then once you're done with feasibility studies, then you see this project is worth to go, and then you will hire a design team to do the design. So the design may have the design estimate, and then you go into the bid. Once you finish the design bid, right? DB, design, bid, and build, right? Design, bid, and construction, right? So when you're doing the bid, you have your contract, you're given a detailed estimate, right? And then you do the construction, you have your progress payment and the change orders. So the progress payment will learn from the scheduling class. And then we'll have the final inspection. Then you have your final payments. And when you run it, when you use it, you occupy it or you use it, you will have the expansion and upgrading budget, right? So that is kind of a life cycle of your project, only except the deconstruction. When you're doing the deconstruction, demolition, you may have a budget to how to tie it down. And some of the materials you can reuse and you can sell it, then you can have some salvage value as a makeup, right? So so detailed estimates. What is detailed estimates? You guys read the lecture notes 3. What is detailed estimates? It's fun. So detailed estimates is more likely you got everything in a very detailed level, right? You have a very 90 or 95% is showing you have accuracy for this one, right? So detailed means more accurate, right? So success or fail for the projects. You may have overestimates. You were not given the job because you budget more. The owner may give it to a low one, right? So if you under the estimate, that make you challenge over here is you will lose your money as a contract, right? Because the owner won't pay you more. So that means they have some certain over here. You can use the calculation to accurately determine. And also they have some uncertain over here. You may have some risk over here, right? So in this case, we will call the estimates, detailed estimates is partially science and partially art. So the events have the certainties, right? Will not change during the construction. That will be including the office rent and equipment rent, right? The events recognize risk, uncontrollable factor in the future. That can be the weather like today, right? The events have uncertainties, like free will action of the people beyond the control of the estimates, right? And also the resource restriction during the estimate may have the time, money, and the experience stuff. All those things can make your estimates uncertain, right? And only the very beginning one, the first one can make your estimate is certain. So that means we are actually very hard to get a very accurate estimate. In this case, we call it partially science, partially arts. And also, since they have uncertain over there, so as I showing before, we may add in something to make up if that happens, right? We will detail about this later. So the bond is a things, as I mentioned before, is different to the insurance. Because the insurance, you have your auto insurance, you have your home or rent insurance. That means you pay the premium to the insurance company, and once the damage happens, right, to you, the insurance company will cover it. So that is insurance. It's a two-party stuff. But the bond is a three-party instrument, protect the one party. So that means the bond is to protect the owner. So bond is used to protect the owner. And from the default on the part of the second party is contract. So the bond company is third party, the first party is the owner, second party is the contract. If the contract made some damages and caused a loss to the owner, then the bond company will pay off this. But the money for the bond is come from the contract, is not come from the owner. Right, that is not an insurance. You pay a premium for me, and then a low cost. Premium is a low cost compared to your coverage, right? So, but the bond is different. Bond is exactly how many money you lose over here. The company contract should pay out it. So, but the money is already put in the third party, and then once it happens, they will relocate to the owner. So, in the event of the default occurs, right, the damage happened, the third party as a bonding company is legally bonded up to offset any damages resulting from this default. So the default is, who has the default? The default is happened with the contract, right? Offset any damages, the damages to the owners, right? The third party bonding company is moving this money to offset these damages, right? So, the party in a position to be damaged by a default is called the obligate. The owner is obligate, right? And the party who is in the position to default is the principal. The contract is a principal. The third party offsetting the damage is the surety, right? The surety, right? The bonding companies. You kind of like understanding the bond is different to the insurance because this is a three-party thing. So type of bonds. So what kind of bonds we may have during the estimating or during the project period? So first we have the bid bond. So make sure as a contract you submit the bid, you're not going to see that is not my bid. I'm not recognize this bid because maybe I feel that I put a low bid for it. I won the project. I cannot make any profit. In this case, you will have the bid bond. Performance bond. So you ensure the owner getting all the contract will be perform all the work in according to the contract document. They are not see I will hire external company experts to do this, but eventually they just hire interlab company to do that. Right? So the payment bond, so ensure the owner that all the materials and the labors will be paid. So you see, I hire these supplies to provide these materials, and the contract did not pay it because the owner is already paid it to the contract. Right? So that may happen. So there are three types of bonds: bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond. So insurance. So we mentioned it early, the insurance is required by the owner or sometimes the government, such as workman's comprehensive insurance, the builder's risk insurance, unemployment insurance, public liability and property damage insurance, under the comprehensive general liability insurance. So I may have some special insurance required by the owner, or the contract can buy some special insurance to protect them as well, right? So there is a difference between the bond and insurance. So the bond is a three-party instrument, protect the obligors, which is the owner, and the premium is a fee for the extension of the credit, right? For the loss of any incomes. And doesn't transfer the risk because the risk is still carried by the principal, which is contract. So the insurance is only two-party instrument. So we're going to protect the contract, which is the principal. The premium is based on actual rates. So you not exactly pay the money for your coverage. You only pay the rate, maybe 1% or 2%, because the thing this risk happen only 1 or 2%, right? So this pay for specific loss. For example, your auto insurance is only pay your auto damage, right? And this is transfer the risk because the insurance is transfer the risk to the insurance company. Is not contain the risk by the contract, which is the principal. So so now we have reviewed the estimating procedures, and we especially mentioned that there's two types of the bid. One is negotiable, one is competitive, right? And then we reviewed the process about estimates, starting with the work plan, estimate work plan. Form the team estimate plan and the quantity takeoff. You may have the pre-estimating site visiting and the pricing and the makeup and the percentages, right? And also, we were understanding these two types of things can guarantee the damage caused by the contract, right? So there's a bond, three types of bond we have mentioned, and also insurance. So now we are at the time of 9:17 here. We still have plenty of time. So we can do some case studies. So the case study one is a general contract relied on a variable pricing quotations from a telephone conversation with a subcontract in prepare for his bid, and was awarded this contract. However, the subcontract refused to honor the quotations later on. So how to prevent this? So the question for here is a general contract have a phone conversation with a subcontract during the bidding, and the general contract avoided the project. Now they want to using these quarters, right, to do the project, but the subcontract can refuse it. So can their subcontract refuse this quarter?
It's not in writing. It's not binding.
It's not in the writing, right? So definitely they can refuse. So how to prevent this? So if that in the future happened to you, in this condition, how will you do it?
You write contract.
You will write email, follow-up email, right? Or you will do a phone recording, right? Just make documents. You have those conversations before, but the best choice is writing up, right? So, no, this is not a type of bond because you not yet have a legally contract relation between the two parties. They only have a conversation. So-
Why they can't sign, no percent, like that's what I would do next to family sign something.
Yeah, yes, that is the also they were writing down. Yes. All right. So so second case study, a public owner awarded a contract to the second low bidder. So that is not usual because normally the public funding is given to the lowest one, right? So when the challenge in the quarter, the owner claimed the second low bidder was a local contractor. He paid the local tax and employed the local residents and also should therefore given the preference. So is that okay? Given to the second low one. It's maybe okay, but it's not illegal. Right? Because you did not write down it in the qualification part, right? So if the C in the qualification part of the bidding document C, we give some preference to the local company or local small business, right? And then that is able to do this. But as a public owner project is usually go for the lowest one, right? Because you want to carefully spending your tax money, right? So any question for this case study? No, we can move on to the third one. So a public owner stated in the bid document that the owner had the right to reject all bids, which he did. When challenged by the bidding contract to given a reason, the owner claimed that no reason need to be given. So what happened to this? You think that is good or that may happen, right? That may happen. So yeah, how to deal with this? There's no correct or incorrect answer, but I just want you guys involved in the discussion, right? Yeah. Maybe this people say that is good and this people say that is not good. And we can brainstorm it. So who want to be the first one to discuss about this one? Go ahead, Terry.
Well, technically, since it was in the contract, there's nothing that the bidding contractor can do about it. As it says, a public owner stated in the bid documents. So.
I get what you mean. I got what you mean. If that is a private project owned by a private company and then writing that in the bidding document C. Yeah, because this is my money, that is not tax money. I say no to no, that is no. Yeah, if that means then what are you going to say? Is that what you're going to say?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So who be the next one? Who can volunteer for this discussion? This table is saying it's okay, and those tables are saying not okay. So ethical issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at what point did you guys realize that you may not have needed that project done for whatever reason?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good point. Liza, you want to say something?
Yes, she does.
So this person said in the documents that he could just say no if he wants, or they could say no if they want to.
Uh-huh.
They said no.
They
I
said
mean,
no.
it was a risk you took when you decided to go in business with them.
So, I mean, to my viewpoint is, if that is a private project is owned by the
Private company.
private company that spend their own money to do something, they say no, then no. But this, given is a public on the project, right? So if you, taking this process to asking for the bid and the bid company is already spending the time and the resource over there. And also as an owner, you also spend the money to hire some consulting company to help you to running for this bid, right? You already spending some tax money over there. So I would say should give some, at least give some reason why rejecting. If not, that means they are qualified contract, they are qualified to do this project, why not take it to do it? So that's the three case studies. We have a discussion. There's no certain answer which is correct or incorrect, but we just want to discuss it, right? So I think that is the 29 slides for the lecture notes 1. So we will spend like 5 or 6 minutes to review the lecture notes 3 and 4, which you already finished your quiz, but there's some information over here I want to share, or I want to have a detailed insight over here. So so first we have the we will write of those different stages and also different kinds of estimates over here. When you're doing the detail estimates, you need in the stage of almost all the detail design work is completed, right? Approximate estimating are refined using the detail estimates. So who will be using the detail estimates? It's likely the engineers detail estimates and the bidder or contractor detail estimates. There are 2 types of detail estimates. One is provided by the owner's engineers, one is provided by the contract, right? Normally we were using unit price for the detail estimates because that is for the public projects. And usually the unit price costs are like for a completed or complex project because you have more things as uncertainties, right? And also the project with high uncertainty will be using the detail because your price will not change, your unit price will not change. When the quantity go up, then the total cost go up, but your as a contractor, you will not lose money because you work more than you gain more, right? Or you spend more, right? So for the engineers estimates, that is part of actually the bid documents provided by the owner, right? Who perform it is the engineers, maybe the CM company or the design buildings, right? So the unit price for the engineers detail estimates is not from your company history data, it's actually from the RS means or the other standard resource nationwide or the state or regional wide, right? And the unit price as a result for the average of the industry standards. So the estimate is very easy. You have a quantity, then times with your unit price, and then sum of them up. So there's no lump number subtract quotation. So that only contains the quantities for non-subcontract things. If you have a subcontract over there, the engineer's estimates will not provide that part. You're going to asking the subcontract directly as a contract, right? So this example from North Dakota Department of Transportation. For the transportation project, usually is the linear, right? The linear feed, and the sum of materials using the term or the volumes, right? So you have a list. The documents looks, you have a list of items, and you have your quotations, quantities for each of the items. Then you have your engineer's estimates here, and then you have a total quantity times with price. You bid the price and make a total, and then you have sum up of this. So that is the engineer's estimates. So for the contract detail estimates, will be the contract bid as that will have us, because that is using the Google Cloud Share, maybe different to the Microsoft PowerPoint. The contract sometimes is low enough to open a project, but yet high enough to make the profit. So that you need to make determine. So the contract detail estimates is provided by the contract. It's more detailed, depends on the contract's own procedures, right? It's often relies on its history data. So let me reopen this one. I can get access from my photo. Unit price. Very good. Yeah. It relies on the history data, the quantity of most important items, and also the subcontract bid. That is a lifetime thing, right? The question here is how the contract provide the bids, the quantity take off. Where is this quantity take off from? So if you're reading this one, you will see the quantity take off is from the engineer's field, right? So the contract usually they perform the own takeoff, then they will notice they may have some difference between the own quantity takeoff to the engineer's quantity takeoff. In this case, you may take some action like unbalanced bid to make your profit because you know they have some difference over here. But when you submit your bidding to the owner for review, you will rely on the quantity takeoff from the engineers. In that case, you may given a big unit price for that one. The engineers has underestimated, right? So you may given a low one for that engineer has overestimated. Because that this happened, the actual quantity will be different to the engineer estimate one. So if it's lower than that one, you have a low unit price, meaning you can adjust for the others per high unit price. You still are able to gain more money, right? So the company bid on the job, example showing here, you still see the estimate from the owners or engineers estimates, right? And you can see only here is the bid price, unit price. There is no quantity for the contract bidding. The quantity is only from there, the second column. So they all share it. So there's a second bid as well. There's no quantity over here. They only have bid price and amounts. So that is a total. So we also know what happened in the future. That when you actually have it, so then you may considering either to low price it or high unit price it, right? So some procedure for the detail estimates. So you already learned from your class, so I'm not going to repeat that. Just quickly review it. So understanding the project, you're reading project plan and specification, and you perform the work breakdown structure WBS. So that you may use in the CSI format, right? So here is the older CSI format only have 6 divisions, and you will see the side work is in the division 2. And the divisions 2 to 7 is all based on the materials, right? And then there's a new one. So here's a new one. You have more than 16 divisions, and you will notice that division 3 to and division 9 is all the same as based on the materials. And the door and the windows has changed to opens, and you will see the artwork has been moved to the side and the instruction sub. So that is really different to that one. Site construction division 2, and right now it's called a site and infrastructure subgroup. And the artwork is in the division 31. So that's the huge difference. And those are the new things because the modern project getting more complicated, then you have all those subscripts, right? Honey takeoff is normally based on the hand drawings or even how using the on-screen one, right? You also can use the model takeoff. We will use a model takeoff in this class, not like this doing the hand drawing or the 2D drawings to do the takeoff. So unit price, maybe from your own company and the software stage, right? Or you may refer to some industry reference data, right? But it's all based on the labor material equipment as your direct cost and sum up them and you adding up with indirect costs, right? So as mean summary, you have the direct cost, indirect labor cost, and project overhead, and adding the sales tax, insurance bond, and makeup. That is your whole budget, right? So we're not going to do this example. So that's one you already learned from the estimating one. So now we move into review about the assembly estimates. So the assembly estimates, it is different to the unit price. So the unit price is you almost done with your design documents, right? For example, like 16%. But assembly is you can starting as early as your design development, right? We already learned what is CD, what is DD, right? So the price for the unit price is come from every single cost item individually, but assembly is group some item together, right? And the unit price is very time consuming, but assembly is fast to develop because you already group some together. So unit price is detailed, is more accurate, but assembly is reasonable accurate. So for the work structure breakdown, you are using CSM master format, but assembly is using the unit formats. So what is unit format? We are going to see it in this class, right? So unit price is material based, and the assembly is more the building elements or the system based. So that is the unit format is separated by the under substructure, superstructure, then it's broken to foundations, the doors, walls, and walls. That is all the building elements. So I don't believe you guys learned the architecture design, right? Have you guys learned about architecture design? No, there's no architecture design in our curriculum, but when I was in college, we have the architecture design in our curriculum. So basically, we needed to finish architecture design. Also, we needed to do a project, and then also will be easy to understanding those building components. And our have you guys all learned about the building systems, which is taught by Dr. Bach? The building system. I forgot what his name. It's not the principle of the statics, not the structure. It's the building system.
Talking about the environment.
Yes, very good. Yeah. You're in that class now? Okay, got you. So basically, we learned this one in my program is kind of like in the second year, so not the third year. So the estimating on the schedule is more in the third year and the fifth and the fourth year. So that schedule is not good. So here is an example of the master format. That is a new one because you have 31 as an artwork division. But for the unit format, you will see they will have A is true for the substructure, substructure is underground stuff, right? B is shear. Shear is like the walls, the external walls that is above the ground. And the internal is like this finished stuff. And the service is for the fire system, right? Equipment, something finish and the special construction. And the building sidewalk is in the G, and the D is a general requirement. So that is a uniform. So we will break it to details later when we're doing the labs, right? The estimating what can follow for the that is assembly estimates. You also need to understand the project. You need to develop the WBS, which is based on the uniform, right? You do the quantity takeoff as a group of some items, right? And then you may need to price the cost item, and also you do the estimate summary. So this process is similar as the detail estimates or unit cost estimates, but the technicals for quantity takeoff and the price calculation is different, right? So, and also that is because the WBS is different. So then we can do the BIM model takeoff, automatic quantity transfer the cost database, right? We can do automatic pricing with RS means assembly cost, and also we can auto generate the cost report and summary. That is what we're going to learn in this class. Computer software application with estimates, right? And more in detail is using assembly. So unit price is quite the same way. Okay. So how to do the estimate with the BIM? So that is the same way understanding the project, reading the plans and navigation the BIM models. We will do this one by one when doing the labs. So WBS, so here is a screenshot from the Navisworks, and you will see it's default with a uniform, right? So substructure is A, and A10 is foundation, A20 is basement. And if you open B, they have B10, B20, that is one by one, doing detail. So cost estimate with the BIM software. Second is quantity takeoff. You still can do the 2D quantity takeoff, but in our class, we are doing the 3D quantity takeoff. So some of you may already know what is Bluebeam, right? The Bluebeam is kind of like the 2D takeoff because it's still reading the PDFs. So now, what another Precore can do the estimate as well, but it's still based on the PDF drawings, right? So the on-screen takeoff is all kind of like the definition for all those things, because you still do the on-screen takeoff, but you're still reading the 2D PDF document. So the 3D takeoff is like the Navisworks quantifications. They have the assembly system or Sigma estimate, voice office, and Innova. There's a different company or software provider, same thing, but in our class, we were using this one, Navisworks, right? You see this modern takeoff, you see this drag or drop. This is thing is a software called e-takeoff bridge. Unfortunately, before I come here, we have e-takeoff bridge, but when I come here, I mean, I don't know, the software over here is also make a lot of issue, but we are simple that process. We remove the e-takeoff bridge, but we directly getting all those quantity from the Navisworks and manually put into the Sage. So that is our procedure looks like now. So the present documents, yes, we are using the RS means assembly cost database, but we only have a tri-vision. We don't have a detailed vision. Unfortunately, the RS means has been sold to Sage. Now the Sage is on the RS means. Sage is a commercial company want to make the profit. So they charge a lot for the RS means now. So previously RS means provided the free vision to the faculties, but right now no way. So yeah, that is a procedure. You're starting from the Autodesk Navisworks, and normally we go to the Navisworks again. You take our bridge, estimating Sage, and the RS means, and then we finish it. And also we can jump over some way. So we don't need this one. We can manually put it in. It doesn't matter. So all those software is surrounded in this ecosystem, provide the same results. So summary. So still the same thing. Indirect, direct, project overhead, salary, insurance makeup. So we will learn this one after we done lab 1 to 12, and then we will starting to learn the estimating summary, lab 13, that is an important part. We're going to discuss about each of them, right? So, so that is what we reviewed today, unit price or detailed estimates. And we see the difference between the unit price and the assembly estimates, right? You guys have this as one question in your quiz. So every lecture notes is posted on the Blackboard, and if you want to review some later, you can definitely access to it, right? So we're going to end our class now, and for the coming Thursday, there is no in-person class. I will send you guys the reading materials and maybe with another quiz too. Does that make sense? All right, thank you guys.
We still have the afternoon class or no?
We still have the afternoon for this class for today, but there's no afternoon for Thursday.
No morning.
Next week we will have, not only this week. I'll send you an email. All right, see.
What's the order? What's the order?